There is not a lot of stuff that can get me flying up out of bed at 11:38 at night. And that's why I look like hell, but I have some great news to bring to y'all. It is about Chrono Trigger and more projects in the Chrono universe, and this is straight from Square Enix themselves, and I am thrilled. I saw this, I was like, I already took my melatonin, and I was laying in bed, and I couldn't really sleep, and I grabbed my iPad, it's just on my nightstand, and I started scrolling through Twitter, and I saw this tweet, and I'm like, whoa! I jumped out of bed, and here I am to tell all y'all all about it. And I definitely think that's worth a sub, as I do try my hardest to get 100,000 subscribers. With your help, your like, and your sub, I just know that I can get there, because I look like absolute hell. I have bad head. I've been laying in bed for like an hour trying to sleep, and I just couldn't. But anyway, here is the tweet from Square Enix themselves. It says, "Today marks the 30th anniversary of the release of Chrono Trigger in 1985. As we all know, that's a typo because it came out in 1995, but whatever, I guess Square Enix can make mistakes too. This timeless, love the pun, masterpiece that transcends generation and is still talked about today was born from a dream project by Yuji Horii of Dragon Quest, Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball, and Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy. As we mark the 30th anniversary, we'll be launching various projects that go beyond the world of the game over the next year to express our gratitude to everyone who has played Chrono Trigger so far." So, various projects, plural, that go beyond the world of the game. That means, like, a sequel. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just saying, hey, we're remaking the game, although that would be great, HD 2D remake, or maybe something in the style of like a Dragon Quest, the cartoony, cel-shaded graphics, I think would look great for a Chrono Trigger remake. But they're saying going beyond the world of the game, but they're also saying multiple projects. And as we all know, remakes are big business. We're seeing it with every single company under the sun. We're seeing it all over the place. I mean, Suikoden just came out. Lunar's coming out next month. Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming out. We're seeing remakes everywhere. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 is coming up later on this year. So all these things are coming out, and it just makes sense that Chrono Trigger would get remade too. And why is that? Because every single time that you ask these companies and you say, why are you just remaking, the first couple of games? Why is it only remakes? They always say, well, we want to introduce new players to these series. Literally a lifetime has passed since Chrono Trigger came out. 30 years has passed since Chrono Trigger came out. So if you were born in 1995, you're not playing the game. Even if you're 5 years old in 2000, you're probably still not playing the game. Even if you're 10 years old in 2005, you're probably still not playing the game. Not until maybe you're 14, 15, mature enough to really understand what's going on, are you playing this game, and then there's just not that many people. So they're trying to reintroduce people into these games and get people to play them. That is why they go ahead and they do these remakes. So I think they're saying multiple projects and beyond the game world. Now, we have a couple of entries in the Chrono series. There's, of course, Chrono Trigger. There is Radical Dreamers, which is a visual novel that came out on the Satellaview on the SNES, only in Japan, and then we did get it in the Chrono Cross remake, and that's what Chrono Cross is actually based upon, because of the story and all that, and Kid, and, everything, but blah, blah, blah. And then there is Chrono Cross, and then that got remade a couple years back, and everybody was shocked, like, why did you remake Chrono Cross and not remake Chrono Trigger? I think it is finally, that freaking time, for them to go back and remake Chrono Trigger. There's also a mobile game based upon Chrono Trigger called Another Eden, The Cat Beyond Time and Space. So I don't think it's going to be a gacha mobile, because they already have something in the gacha mobile space. They want something in the console space. And as we all know, the release calendar for Square Enix is kind of dry this year. There's not much going on. They talked about like a Bravely Default 3 or sequel coming out, but nothing ever came of that. They hinted at Octopath, nothing ever came of that. We know that Dragon Quest 1 and 2 was coming out, but that's really about it. It's just Dragon Quest remakes, so maybe they originally wanted this to come out and coincide with the 30th anniversary of Chrono Trigger. That would make sense. But it didn't. There was that new CEO who came in a couple years back, and he shook things up, and he canceled some projects, and he, did all sorts of other stuff. So maybe that happened, and it just kind of got pushed to the wayside, and that's why we might be getting it late Who really knows? But it's also really exciting because normally whenever companies want to celebrate like anniversaries and stuff, we get like artwork or new remastered soundtrack, and it was like, whoop-de-frickin-do. I don't, it's a wallpaper. Yay! I want a new game, and we're actually getting not just a new game, we're getting various games. And what's coming up on April 2nd? What's coming up in under 1 month? Well, it's the Switch 2 announcement that is coming up. So wouldn't this just make sense to come out on the Switch? Maybe a launch title on the Switch, and they can't, well, the Switch 2, I should say, and they can't talk about it yet because, Nintendo is Nintendo and they just can't. So maybe we'll get more information there. We don't know. But now I want to ask you, what do you think these various projects would be? I think that getting a Chrono Trigger remake is a given. Like, it's going to happen. It is what it is. They need to introduce new players to this series. They need to introduce people to this game because it really is just kind of like a one-off. Yeah, there was Chrono Cross as well, but Chrono Trigger really is the bread and butter of the series. Will it be HD 2D? Will it be cel-shaded? We don't know, but I want to ask, what do you think? Then there's also a possibility of a Chrono Trigger 2. Now, a lot of the times, whenever I talk about sequels to games, everybody gets all, like, they get their panties in the wad, and they're like, it was wrapped up so nice with a nice little bow, you can't possibly do a sequel on it. And it's like, bitch, I'm not talking about a direct sequel. Like, I'm talking about a Final Fantasy sequel, or a Dragon Quest sequel, or a Lufia sequel, whatever. Do a sequel in the same world, or just with the same thematics, not even in the same world, not following the same characters, just with the same thematics, with the same time travel. I think that would be fantastic. Could they do a sequel or a new addition to Chrono Cross? They could, but I don't think so. I think that there would be a lot of backlash if they did do that, because Chrono Cross did just get its own remake, and it was divisive, to say the least, as far as the game is concerned. I know a lot of people love Chrono Cross. It is a love or hate type of game, and I really do think that they do need to go back to the basics, and that's what this new CEO has been doing. They've always been going back to the basics and seeing what worked. They went back to the basics with the Dragon Quest, with the HD 2D, with the Star Ocean 2 remake that came out. They've been going back to the basics, and I think that they're going to be doing that now because they see that, yeah, there is an audience for these great turn-based RPGs. There's an audience out there and people do want them. And they're like, hey, these games will sell if we just put them in front of people. And they're seeing that with all these remakes. They're seeing it with like Ayuden Chronicles and these Kickstarters and everything. So I'm thinking that we're going to be getting a Chrono Trigger remake, and I think that we're going to be getting a Chrono Trigger 2 with the same thematics. But now I want to ask you, what do you think about all this? What do you think is going to be happening? What do you think are the various projects? That is my big question to you. I want to know. Let's all talk and chat about it. And as always, have a great day, y'all.